Did you know that one rocket ship emits over 300 tons of carbon dioxide upon a single launch? Well, if you didn't, that's equivalent to driving around the whole world 30 times. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Cantor, and in this video, I'll be sharing whether we should continue the space race or maintain it for a safe place. So, to begin with, when we think of humanity's reliance on space exploration, we think of just sending rockets to visit moons, other planets, or even other solar systems. However, it's far more significant than that. A good example of this is how you use your GPS every day. That's reliance from space exploration. Throughout this presentation, I'll be going over a couple topics that range. First, I'll be going over the benefits and cons of space exploration, why limitation is important, and the best path moving forward. So let's dive into it. So first, I'm going to discuss the scientific benefits, and I'll begin with medical research. According to Aaron Gronstal, who is an astrobiologist working for NASA, he discovered and created two key methods of tracking COVID-19 and SARS when they were viral. He also discovered and created a better respirator during COVID-19 to help those who are significantly sick. Moving on, PhD Dr. Mariana Antonio discovered how single-cell organisms actually duplicate. And she did this by doing astrobiology on single cells, and this correlated back to how cancer duplicates on Earth. Meaning, because she did this, she contributed to finding out how cancer could work here on Earth, which could help us find treatments for cancer in the future. Now, moving on economically, when we think of satellites, we don't really think about how they could benefit here us on Earth. But really, they can. For example, the GPS. In fact, according to Professor McKinsey at the University of Texas in Austin, he found out that in 2023, Uber Eats, Uber, and DoorDash that were installed with the use of GPS from satellites generated over $300 billion just from using those apps for the working people. Now, to add on to that, according to Roxana Bardon, she found for the NASA Moon to Mars mission generated over 300,000 jobs for nationwide and generated over $9.4 billion in taxes adding on to the GDP. Now, I put further innovation for weather and smartphones, but what I mean by that is when working for space exploration and when you're trying to make rockets that go into space or even just explore space in general, you make discoveries that are very opulent. And those discoveries come from companies such as CERN, DARPA, and NASA and SpaceX all working together, meaning when they send satellites, they're improving how weather or even your smartphone could work. Now, moving on, I'm going to be discussing CO2. So, do you remember how I said that one rocket launch emits over 300 tons of carbon dioxide? Well, I wasn't lying there, but I wasn't specific about what type of carbon dioxide. One rocket launch emits over 300 tons of carbon dioxide, of black carbon dioxide. And black carbon dioxide isn't regular carbon dioxide. Rather, it's carbon dioxide that sits at the top of our atmosphere and stays there, and it's very expensive to remove. It also aggravates climate change far more, and in fact, according to the US NOAA, they found that over 90% of recent hurricanes, storms, and tropical storms are considered weather climate related. And this is because climate change is significantly being aggravated repetitively. And this is because we have repetitive rocket launches without a sustainable fuel method. Now, moving forward, this leads me to my next point about ozone disruption. So, for those of you who don't know, our ozone layer is in our stratosphere of the atmosphere. And the significance of our ozone is that it protects us from UV radiation that emits from the sun. Now, as I'm speaking right now, there's currently a hole in our ozone layer because of a significant amount of carbon emissions. But let me go back into the main point. With our ozone layer being depleted from an increased amount of carbon emissions, this leads to an effect on our urban environment, meaning us. This leads to higher chances of us human beings getting skin cancer, cataracts, or even just destroyed foliage. And without foliage or food, that means humans can't eat. However, it also places a burden on our environment because it destroys habitats and it harms animals, which leads me into the next point about sustainability. So the ultimate final goal when looking into aerospace or just space exploration is to have more efficient methods of space travel, meaning more cleaner methods of fuel, less less um less damage in the atmosphere and less rockets that are destroyed out in our atmosphere. Because with this, it clutters our atmosphere and it overall just adds to the negativity of our planet, destroying the environment. Thus, the ultimate goal is to balance innovation with environmental protection. And it kind of raises the concern of do we deserve custodianship of our environment? Meaning, do us humans deserve the right to make the choices for our nature. And the real question is no, unless we all work together to stop it, to stop the unsustainable fuel approaches and to make rockets more clean. Because at the end of the day, we only have one home, and just because we're looking for another doesn't mean the one we have is perfect. So we should all work together to work on sustainable methods, or even just pause rocket launches, to just figure out something where we can all remain sustainable. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your time.